There's a new class of drugs out there that promise a fix for one of our oldest struggles, losing weight. And you can't deny the results. They're fast, and for a lot of people, they're absolutely life-changing. But what if that solution comes with a hidden biological price tag? Look, we're not here to debate whether these drugs work. We're here to ask a much, much bigger question. Right there. That is the real question. This isn't about efficacy, it's about consequence. What really happens when we use a chemical to override a survival system that's been fine-tuned for millions of years? To even begin to answer that, we've got to start with how our bodies are supposed to work in the first place. So, to get how these drugs intervene, you first have to understand the body's own system for managing energy. And it's a beautiful thing. It's this delicate balance, and it's all governed by two key hormonal signals. Think of your body's energy system like a seesaw. It's constantly being balanced by these two hormones that do the exact opposite thing. On one side, you've got glucagon, and its job is to mobilize energy, to get it out and use it. On the other side, you have GLP-1, and its job is to store energy. Now, here's the crucial part. They are never, ever supposed to be active at the same time. Okay, so let's look at glucagon. Think of it as your survival hormone. When you haven't eaten for a while, it's the one that kicks in. It sends a message to your liver saying, hey, we need some energy out here, release some of that stored sugar. It tells your body to start burning fat for fuel. And maybe most importantly, it keeps your metabolism running high. It's the hormone of scarcity, making sure you can keep going. Now, GLP-1 is the total opposite. It's the hormone of abundance. It only shows up when you eat. Its main job is really about timing. It slows down your digestion so you can actually absorb all the nutrients from your food and avoid these huge sugar spikes. It's just a temporary signal that basically says, okay, food's here, let's process it and store whatever's extra for later. And this brilliant rhythm, this switching back and forth between burning and storing, that's what's known as metabolic flexibility. It is the absolute foundation of a healthy, responsive metabolism. And it's this precise, elegant system that these new drugs are designed to hijack. So, how in the world do these drugs get such dramatic results? Well, they don't add anything new to your body. Instead, they hijack the system you already have by forcing one of those signals to stay switched on permanently. These drugs are what's called an agonist. All that means is that they're designed to mimic your natural GLP-1 hormone. But, and this is the game changer, they have one critical difference. Your body's own signal is temporary. It comes and goes with meals. The drug signal, it's permanent. It just never turns off. And that right there, that is the hijack. The drug essentially forces your body into what you could call a continuously fed state. It's sending a constant, non-stop signal to your brain that says, we're full, we've just eaten, store everything. And that signal never stops, not even when you haven't had a bite of food for hours or maybe even days. So what happens when that store signal is screaming 24/7? Well, the seesaw breaks. That mobilized signal, glucagon, it gets completely shut down. It's suppressed. Your body literally loses its ability to access its own stored energy. That natural rhythm of metabolic flexibility, it's just shattered. And when you override survival biology that profoundly, you have to expect consequences. The system doesn't just go along with it quietly. Your body starts to pay a series of biological costs. And a lot of them, well, they aren't obvious at first. The first cost, and maybe the one that's most overlooked, is the loss of your metabolically active muscle tissue. And this isn't just about the number on the scale. It's about the quality of the weight you're actually losing. So here's how this muscle melt actually happens. Step 1. The drug is telling your brain you're full, so you eat way, way less. But on a cellular level, your body is starving. Step 2. Because that mobilized signal is blocked, your body can't easily get to its fat stores for fuel, so it panics. And it turns to the next available force, your own muscle. And finally, as you lose that precious muscle, your metabolic engine, the rate you burn calories just by being alive, it absolutely plummets. And that plummeting metabolism, it sets a trap. It leads directly to our second cost, a really vicious metabolic rebound. Because you have to ask, what happens when you eventually stop taking the drug? Honestly, this quote just says it all. When you stop the drug, you are now left with a slower, less powerful metabolic engine than when you started. Your body, which is now incredibly good at storing energy, just goes into overdrive. The weight doesn't just creep back on, it rebounds with a vengeance. And this time, it comes back mostly as fat. The third biological cost happens right where the drug's action begins. inside your digestive system. You know how your natural GLP-1 gently taps the brakes on digestion? Well, the drug slams them to the floor 24/7. For some people, this can lead to a condition called gastroparesis, which literally means stomach paralysis. The nerve signals can get so blunted that the stomach just stops moving food properly. And the really scary part? For some people, this damage might be permanent. The fourth cost is a little more subtle. It's an invisible toll that can build up over a long, long time. I mean, it's just simple logic, right? When you're eating dramatically less food, you're taking in fewer building blocks. You're putting yourself at risk for all kinds of deficiencies: protein, vitamins, minerals. You might see early signs like being tired all the time or losing your hair. But the honest truth is, we have absolutely no idea what the long-term effects of this kind of chronic undernutrition will be decades from now. And finally, the fifth cost isn't just physical. It's in the brain. It's the creation of a really powerful psychological and pharmacological dependency. See, while you're on the drug, those hunger hormones don't just go away. They're being actively held down. The second you remove that artificial signal, they don't just come back to normal, they rebound with a force. This leads to a state called increased food salience, where the mental conversation about food becomes deafening and the cravings can feel completely and totally overwhelming. When you put all these costs together, it forces us to look at a final, critical principle. This really isn't just about one specific drug. It's about what it means to be safe when we decide to override our own survival biology. So many people on these drugs say, you know what? I feel fine. I don't have any symptoms. But this brings up a huge question. Is not having a symptom really the same thing as being safe? This quote just makes the point in the most chilling way possible. Cardiovascular disease can build up silently for decades with zero symptoms. You feel perfectly fine, right up until the moment it's almost fatal. The absence of symptoms is not the presence of safety. And when we override our most basic biology, the question isn't just about the costs we can see today, but about all the ones that are still adding up silently in the dark.